Things are heating up on the Central Bank Digital Currency Fund, that CBDC we've talked about before. A CBDC, a central bank digital currency, just to make it simple, is a digital version of the dollar. It would be a lot like the wallets that you have that you can put a credit card into and scan at the checkout register at various businesses. Apple has Apple Pay, Samsung has Samsung Pay, Google has Google Pay, and they can be applications on your phone, and you can set up your phone so that it puts out a small signal to the kiosk area there, and you can then pay for your groceries and various items, right at the check stand. That's the kind of technology we're talking about, only it would be raised up a level to where the dollars would actually be in the wallet on your phone rather than a credit card that went through a credit card clearinghouse that then goes to your bank if it's a debit card, and then the money gets taken out and sent to the company. In a central bank digital currency, it would work like a blockchain. And a blockchain would just be a direct transfer straight from your wallet on your phone that you've loaded with dollars, of course, and then would go straight to the vendor. So it cuts out a lot of the intermediaries and could make things a lot more simple. The central bank digital currency, if it was issued by the Treasury Department, is part of the government. If it's issued by the Federal Reserve, though, Federal Reserve technically is not part of government. It is a bank unto itself. Now, you might find that a little hard to believe because it seems to function like the government. It seems to act like the government and definitely supports the government in a lot of different ways by making sure the Treasury has enough money to continue to pay its bills. When it borrows, it usually borrows from the Federal Reserve, or it borrows from people who buy their bonds. Either way, either one or the other, the Federal Reserve either buys the bonds or individuals buy government U.S. bonds. So it's simply a situation where the Federal Reserve at this point is looking into the issue. So we know that President Biden issued an executive order for the Federal Reserve to look into the issue. They are currently looking into the issue. They've put out a white paper that you can go get at the Federal Reserve on central bank digital currencies. And it talks about what the future of money is going to be. It's called the Future of Money Report. The Treasury Department's not really getting into it much, but the Federal Reserve is where you can actually get the report from. The CBDC decision belongs to the Federal Reserve, as it says here. So Jerome Powell, if he's still in office at the time of the decision, would be making that decision to issue a central bank digital currency. Now, the challenge here is that Congress is getting a little bit uppity about it. Congress is wanting to know what the Federal Reserve has in mind. So Patrick McHenry, who is on the Financial Services Committee, sent a letter to the Federal Reserve because of the new chairwoman that was put into the Federal Reserve, onto the Federal Reserve Board. So her name is Lael Brainerd. So she was just questioned, and during her testimony at the Congress, she basically said that they would not be acting on issuing a CBDC without strong support from the White House and Congress, adding the agency had no intention of serving consumers directly. So that seems to say that even though the Federal Reserve has the final say on it, that the government would be actively putting the legislation in place to create it. So the question is that there's a lot of confusion in that, because normally the Federal Reserve, issues money and takes away money out of the economy, at their own whim. They manage all that side of it, and the Congress really doesn't get much involved other than to create the Federal Reserve back in 1916. So the question was asked from the member of Congress, is it your view that the Federal Reserve may not establish an intermediated CBDC model without direct authorization from Congress? So they want to know if Congress has to authorize the Federal Reserve to do so. And so they're asking that question, also asking for more information on the Federal Reserve's position concerning the central bank digital currency. So Jerome Powell said later that they haven't made any decisions at all about whether we should have a CBDC yet. So they're still in the question phase. They're still in the comments phase. And being in just the comments phase, there's really not a lot of information, although you've got a lot of people asking questions. And of course, as it gets further down the road, there's going to be a lot of questions as people get interested in knowing what this new thing is going to look like. There's a lot of groundwork that has to be laid. First off, it doesn't happen overnight that you can put a nationwide blockchain in place that will handle cryptocurrencies. You have to put all the nodes in place, and I could imagine that the nodes are going to be banks. They're going to be those main nodes, and that in order to get an account, you're going to have to validate yourself. So it'll be acting a lot like a private blockchain in the respect that you'll have to create an account. You'll have to identify who you are as. The know your customer laws will be enforced in having a CBDC account so that you can then transact in digital currencies, in the central bank digital currency or the dollar. So there's a lot of groundwork to be laid, a lot of testing, and a lot of work that has to be done before it can even get deployed once a decision has been made to actually do it. So we've got a lot of road to tread here. How fast they can do that is really questionable. I know most government projects usually take about twice or three times longer than what they say they will. So it's definitely not going to happen overnight in any case.